The John Lebang Show has been known to make people laugh, sing, think, scream, throw things in rage, and generally lose their minds. Listener discretion is advised.
Worldwide and out to the greater universe, you're listening to the John Lebang Show.
Greetings, Earthlings, and alert the media. The banger is fired up and on the microphone. I apologize in advance for this, but I have to walk another person through all this stuff again. And I've got my notes with me, and I probably don't even have the full range of notes because I've covered this subject a million times. And I will continue to cover this subject. So I had to deal with somebody who is a believer that climate change is man-made caused. It's the worst it's ever been on the planet as far as the climate is concerned. And that unless we do something, everybody's got to do something. It means everybody in China, everybody in India, everybody in Africa, everybody in the Middle East and in Asia, in the United States, in South America, in Antarctica, everybody. Even over there in France and England. And all those refugees that are leaving Syria and invading the European continent, everybody has to get behind this and get together, and we got to fix the planet because climate change is going to get us. One, it's completely impossible because 80% of the countries don't give two craps about climate change. You think China, with them building coal-powered power plants, do you think they care about climate change? Do you think they think it's a big thing on the horizon? No, they don't think that. Otherwise, they wouldn't be building that if they were worried about that. What about India? Do you think that's a clean country with all their clean energy there? There's the two biggest countries on the planet as far as population is concerned, right? Neither one of them seem to be concerned with that kind of thing. So why should I, as an American, who plants my own garden every year, who has probably a zero carbon impact on the environment, if not, I'm actually making up for other people's, carbon output. Why should I care about those problems if big countries like China and India don't give a crap? It's not going to make a difference for me, is it? But that's to take the whole assumption that climate change is a problem. I can tell you it's not a problem. It's not man-made. We deal with climate change every single day, and if you've lived in Michigan, like I have, for the majority of my existence to this point, you will know that we deal with climate change on not only a daily basis, but it could be an hourly basis. And within 6 months, we could go from 100-degree summers to negative 40-degree winters. And we survive! And it's not because some kind of man-made problem made it do that. Michigan is like that. It's always been like that. You're going to get 100-degree summers sometimes, and sometimes you're going to get so cold your balls are going to freeze off winters. Has nothing to do with mankind. That's what happens. But if we want to get into the evidence, because we have to actually present evidence to these dummies, not that they're going to ever believe the evidence, because they're not even going to get into reading it or actually, finding out for themselves that what they were taught was a bunch of BS crap. When you deal with these climate change morons, I want you're going to stump them right off the bat. They're going to be like, if you hit them up with these few questions, and these questions will be answered later on. So you people who believe in climate change and you're watching this video, these questions that are going to stump you in the beginning, I'm going to answer them for you. So don't worry, stick around. I know your attention span's not that long, but kind of hang in there because you might learn something today. I'm getting tired of teaching this subject, but I'll do it one last time for you. First question, you ask one of the climate change nut jobs. Name me a study, and don't Google it. Name me the study off the top of your head. So right there, they're like, So without even looking at it, I can name you a study, East Anglia, and go check into that and you'll find out, they were messing with the data there and it came out in some more leaked documents. That's the easy one. Here's the hard one. Now, you people that believe in climate change, this is going to get really hard, and I'm sorry. Try not to Google this. What were the warmest periods in Earth's history? Now, if you stick around a little bit, I'll answer that for you. But think about it for a while. If you're thinking today, you might need to rethink that. That's your hint, okay? Here's another one. Was there ever a period that had more CO2 than today? And how much life existed during that period? So I gave you the first answer. The smart ones will know I just gave you the first answer without, actually saying it. And here's the last one. Last question. Because by now, the climate change believer, their brain is melting right now. There's smoke coming out of their ears. Their eyeballs are going, "Ooh," because those questions were too hard for them. Now, hang on, folks. Hang on. This one's going to blow their mind. Ask them, what is the name of the current ice age? Now, for most climate change believers, that one would have probably exploded too many brain cells for them to ever comprehend another thing from this point forward. But for the ones that made it through, that their brains are still firing because they didn't blow a blood vessel in their brain over that last question. The Pliocene Eocene thermal maximum, which occurred about 56 million years ago, just a little bit before mankind, just so you know. Before all those fossil fuels were being burned. In fact, that's probably when the fossil fuels were being created. The poles were free of ice caps, so we were in a tropical period. And palm trees and crocodiles lived above the Arctic Circle. The transition between the two epochs around 56 million years ago was marked by a rapid spike in global temperatures. So the planet got so warm that there was no ice on the planet. And you know what? As far as I can tell, man wasn't mowing the lawn back then. They weren't driving SUVs back then. During the PETM, the global mean temperature appears to have risen by as much as 5 to 8 centigrade or 9 to 14 Fahrenheit to an average temperature as high as 73 degrees across the planet. Now think about that, folks. 73 degrees across the planet. How many of you love 73 degrees? You love it, don't you? So this, one of the warmest periods ever in the history of the planet, averaged 73 degrees. Today's global temperature, today's average temperature, is 60 degrees, which is 13 degrees for you people who can't do math. I mean, I know some people's brains have already melted just off that last one. You mean there was actually a warmer period on the planet than now? And the highest that's ever been was 73 degrees on average? Oh my God, I don't know. I mean, alligators were living up in the Arctic. That must have meant there was plenty of life up there, wasn't there? Which means there was probably plenty of life on the planet. If the gators were hanging out chomping on little things up way by the Arctic, then there was alligators all over. At roughly the same time period, the Pliocene data liked fossilized protoplankton and ocean sediment recorded a massive release of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, at least doubling or possibly even quadrupling the background concentrations. So the ocean, a bunch of other things, spewed all out this carbon dioxide. It made all the ice melt. Gators could go up to the Arctic, hang out and eat things up there because there was plenty of food out there. Because, I mean, gators don't go that far for food. Just saying, they're not driving a couple hundred miles back then for food. I mean, I don't think they had cars back then. I don't know. Just saying. So if there was gators up there, there was plenty of food up there, which meant there was plenty of life up there. Probably a lot more life up there in the Arctic than there is now, because usually cold doesn't do so well for life. It's really not a good thing. Any of you people who live in the northern states in the United States, in the continental United States, you'll know that your grass dies in the winter because it doesn't like the cold. But yes, the PETM was not even the warmest period on the planet. Although this other period, which was called the Neoproterozoic, big old long name, that one was the hottest period ever. And the Hadean was also a pretty hot period on the planet, let alone the Cretaceous period, which had more CO2 content than we do now and had more life teeming across the planet and had warmer temperatures. We have had tropical periods on the planet, which meant there was no ice on the planet. We've had those. It was before man ever existed. And according to scientists, 73 degrees during the PETM was the average on the planet. We're at 60 now. That's the average on the planet currently. So there was a bunch of life on the planet during the PETM. So what's wrong if the planet warms? Just wondering. Sounds to me it promotes life. And that probably means there was a lot of water, because gators living way up there, just saying, needed water, and fresh water, a lot of them. I'm not sure all of them needed fresh water, but it was, I'm just saying. So all that water was out there too. Fresh water for people. Or for the gators and the creatures it was eating. Little Bambis and the little squirrels or whatever other rodents were out there, the rats. Maybe there was a possum it ate out there. Who knows? Now, I hope you guys are able to keep up right now. We're already running into a break.
Don't touch that dial. The John Lebang Show will be right back.
You can bet on it, man.
Powerful. epic music by Toothbox Row. Life-changing lyrics come in every style, empowering humanity to finally unlock the chains of bondage. Experience the edgy side of positive music and rock your world today. From Primal to Divine, available now at sassyalternativemusic.com.
Ladies, it doesn't matter if it's morning, noon, or night. Whether you've worked all day or you just woke up. If you got the thirst, just wet your lips on a BJ. BJ Beer, brewed right here in the great state of Michigan. Who wants a BJ? You're listening to the John Lebang Show.
Join the radio revolution right here.
It's better than some good Thai stick, man. Yes, I would like some too. All right, so we got past the warmest parts. You know, I filled you in on the warmest time periods on the planet. And this period that we're in currently is not even close. Average of 13 degrees. Now, would you rather live in a 73 degrees average temperature or 60 degrees average temperature? I'm just asking. Think of that yourself for a minute. The animals liked it because there was more animals. But we'll get past that. Now we'll talk about the cold, because there's cold on the planet, right? Remember I asked you, what is the current ice age? Well, the current ice age is called the Pliocene Quaternary Glaciation, which started about 2.58 million years ago during the late Pliocene period, when the spread of ice sheets in the northern hemisphere began. See? So 2.58 million years ago, there was no ice. And then the ice sheets began. That's called an ice age. You get it? You understand what ice age means? There's ice. Tropical period means there's no ice. The planet has had both. And humans weren't involved in either one of those. Or there was more than just either one, because we've gone through tropical periods and cooling periods and hot periods and cool all the time. It just takes millions and millions of years to do so. You're not around to know that, though. See, you only have a short existence, and I know that's really hard for some of these climate change people to understand, because they think all history is based around their life, when they began and after. But really, the planet's been around for a long time. That might be hard for some of you to understand. So where else are we going to go with this? What were some of the other questions I had? Warming periods, CO2 periods. That would be, you ever hear of the dinosaurs? Did you watch Jurassic Park? Maybe you watched Jurassic Park. Well, those were called dinosaurs, okay? And they lived naturally a long time ago. Way back in the day. Long time. Way before you were born. You know, maybe you read about them. Or, well, maybe you watched the video. I think the Jurassic Park helps you out the most, you know. So, those are called dinosaurs. And during a period called the Cretaceous period, which was a long time ago, millions and millions of years ago, these dinosaurs were all over the place. And the CO2 levels were in higher concentrations on the planet. And they had, well, higher temperatures because of that. And because they had higher temperatures, there was less ice on the planet, probably no ice on the planet, because that was, for the most part, until the big meteor crashed. Do you know that one too? Supposedly a big meteor crashed and caused an ice age. That would be considered a natural event, by the way, if you didn't know. But, you know, man does all the bad stuff. So the dinosaurs were here, and it was warm out, high CO2 levels, lots of food, because there are tons of animals to eat, and there's tons of plants to eat. Lots of it. Because CO2 helps plants grow. They love it. They love it. And you know what they do? Plants love it so much they put out this thing called oxygen. Yeah, it's cool. And you know what? Human beings and animals love oxygen. It's really a cool symbiotic relationship. Do you know what symbiotic means? You know, they have to work together, right? So more CO2 there is, the more those plants got to grow. Back there in the dinosaur days, more plants grew, which allowed more animals to grow. And then the animals got to eat the plants and the other animals, because that's what they do. Animals do those sorts of things. And if a big meteor doesn't crash into the planet, they're probably still around. And we ain't even here complaining about climate change. Who knows? So, remember I brought up East Anglia earlier? There was a thing a few years back called Climate Gate. Okay? East Anglia was one of the mainstays, the ones they based that hockey stick theory off of. Well, come to find out through leaked emails that they were manipulating the data and leaving data out that contradicted the little hockey stick theory. Those scientists, I mean, you can't blame them. They were getting money from like DTE and other power companies and governments. They were getting money from them. So, they had to follow the line because they can't get their funding cut off. So we find out that they withhold some information. They even talk about it openly in emails that they're, we're just going to keep this one a secret. So if you look into Climate Gate. It's not that hard. Even Google, you can find it on Google. Climate Gate. And then go research that. Now, by now, the person who believes in climate change, they've probably had an aneurysm. And there's still more to go. There really is still more to go. Is climate change a natural thing? Well, it must be, because not only geological proof shown that there's been climate change, that we've had warmer and cooling periods on the planet. They've happened naturally. Sure, they've been helped along, like a meteor or something. Maybe too much volcanic activity. If we're going to worry about CO2, shouldn't we do something about the volcanoes? And have you ever gone to like Mount St. Helens since the whole volcanic thing happened there, and see how beautiful and lush it is? All that pollution really promoted life. I mean, it did a quick little disaster thing, it did. But then everything's starting to spring back up. It's not like it was a nuclear bomb where it was radiating things for 1 billion years or whatever. So we've covered the East Anglia thing, where the studies come from, and we found out that they were cheating us, they were lying to us, they were withholding information. We covered that warming and cooling cycles have happened naturally on the planet. We've covered that CO2 has been in higher concentrations prior to man's existence. We've also covered that there's been warmer periods on the planet than it is currently today, and man didn't exist during those periods. In fact, on average, it was quite warmer, 13 degrees warmer. Yet it was teeming with life. There was an abundant amount of vegetation on the planet. And apparently, that's a bad thing. But let's get past that. Let's get past the fact that it's a natural event. Let's get past that it's been politicized. And let's just look at what the governments have been doing with climate since probably the early 60s. JFK talked about it. Take a listen.
We shall propose further cooperative efforts between all the nations in weather prediction and eventually in weather control. We shall propose, finally, a global systems of communication satellites linking the whole world in telegraph and telephone and radio and television. The day need not be far away when such a system will televise the proceedings of this body to every corner of the world.
So since 1961, the U.S. government, at least, have been toying with the idea of weather modification, weather control. He also spoke in that speech about a global satellite network. Well, we know that network exists today. It stands to logic and reason that weather modification also exists today. If that was a goal, the United States funded it and made it happen. It's a fact, Jack. In fact, let me show you some patents. One in particular. This patent, weather modification by artificial satellites, publication number US 5984239A, publication type a grant. So obviously the United States government wanted this, was funding this. Application number US 09/069,655. Publication date November 16th, 1999. Interesting. Filing date April 28th, 1998. Get this, priority date March 27, 1991. Also published as patents US 5762298 and US patent 6045089. Inventors Franklin Y.K. Chen. Look into that person if you want. Now, do you want to know what this patent does? Just so you know. A satellite weather modification system uses Earth's satellites to harness solar energy to modify the thermodynamics and composition of the Earth's atmosphere. So if you're using the solar activity, you cannot cool with solar heat, can you? Just wondering. So I'm wondering if they're trying to artificially warm the planet. SWMS has 3 subsystems. The first subsystem includes a network of Earth satellites called satellite engines, or SEs, used to reflect solar energy and or transform solar energy into other forms of energy beams discharged at specific locations. Boy, does that sound like a weapon to me. The media at these locations and the media through which the energy beams pass absorb these energies and change them into heat. Really? I'm going to leave the rest of the patent there for you to read in the comment section of the video. There are 2 other patents you can click on that relate specifically to this one. And it sure sounds like a weather weapon to me now, doesn't it? Weather modification by artificial satellites is the title. So if there is man-made global warming, wouldn't it be stuff like this? Do you think me driving my big old SUV 100 miles a day would cause more global warming than directly modifying with energy beams? Is that a laser? Are they using blasters? What is this, the Death Star?
Sure
Jupiter is leaving in a big hurry. If they identify us, we're in big trouble. Look at him, he's heading for that small moon.
That's no moon. It's a space station.
Don't go anywhere. The John Lebang Show will be right back. Don't be a fool. You know, if you're getting married soon and you need good entertainment, you need to contact John Lebang. He's got 30 years of experience of wedding entertainment under his belt, and there is no one better and no one cheaper. He's running a special to the end of the year, $500 for your wedding if you book now. Contact John Lebang by email at jlebang@live.com or go to his website. That's www.jlebang.com.
And allow me to do a little bit of self-promotion. If you like what's going on here on the John Lebang Show and you'd like to find out a little bit more, then go to my website. That's www.jlebang.com. You can email me at jlebang@live.com. Send me your pictures, stories. Hey, even if you want to send me some hate mail, we're all good with that. Now, if you're on Twitter and you want to follow us on Twitter, look us up at John Lebang, and when you're talking about us, use the hashtag banger.
If you're on Facebook, then look us up on Facebook and
Like our page at The John Lebang Show. This half hour is brought to you by Pane in the Glass Commercial and Residential Window Cleaning. Take those grimy windows and turn them into a crystal clear beauty with Pane in the Glass. Look them up on Facebook.
fans, do you need a video for your brand new song but don't have a lot of money? Then contact John Lebang. His reasonable rates, professional look, and fast turnarounds will help get that song off the ground. Contact him at jlebang.com.
And I'd like to welcome our new sponsor, Pane in the Glass, commercial and residential window cleaning. For a beautiful, sparkling shine that's crystal clear, call Pane in the Glass Window Cleaning. You can find them on Facebook at Pane in the Glass.
Hey, man, it's at the bottom of the hour, man. Do you know where your kids are, man?
Forces of darkness, the treasonable minds who collaborate must, can, and will be wiped from the face of the earth.
So that we know they modify the weather. We also know for a fact that the climate has always changed. If you live in Michigan, you live at a daily basis. And the worst thing that, all these freakers who think it's a bad thing to warm, listen, we can have longer growing seasons, which means we can feed more people. Is that a bad thing? If the ice melts, that means more water. So we can get water to people. Is that a bad thing? These northern states, these states that use up all this natural gas in the wintertime and all the extra energy they have to use in the wintertime to heat their homes, if the planet's warmer, we don't use that natural energy? Is that a bad thing? Oh, we might lose a little coastal areas. So Hollywood sinks in the ocean. Big deal.
What difference at this point does it make?
You people in Nevada would be having oceanfront property. It's all a game. Because when you boil it all down, when they want us to submit to this, right? What is it? It comes down to a tax. You have a carbon tax. You're penalized for being alive, just like Obamacare. You don't get insurance, you're penalized for being alive. Same type of people came up with this climate change that came up with the stupid Obamacare. Same mindset. Because they want to control you. It has nothing to do with the environment. Nothing at all. It's about controlling you, taking more money from you, making you follow some stupid regulations because someone came up with that crap. And you go ahead and believe it. You go ahead and believe this crap that it's all your fault. It's all your fault, climate change. Man, your neighbor's fault. His neighbor's fault. your cousin's fault. It's all everybody's fault. I mean, let's not forget that Barack Obama and Al Gore fly across the world all the time. Boom, in the big old planes. Thank God we're getting rid of him. But they're out there spewing, climate change, carbon emissions, when they're spewing out tons and tons every time they go up in the air. But hey, no, it's okay for them to do it because it doesn't count for them. It doesn't count for them. It's a zero carbon footprint for them. It's a hypocrisy. The whole thing is one big joke, and you guys are falling into it. The climate changes on its own naturally. Look at the Cretaceous period. Look at I've given you evidence. Go look it up yourself. You don't have to believe me. It's there for you to read if you don't want to be lazy. But it's easier to Google the first thing. Oh, Snopes comes up. It says this. All you have to do is look up. Look up when you go outside and you see the chemtrails all over. They're all over the place. They're weather modification all over the place. You don't see it right there in front of your face. I gotta hand walk everybody. It's like I just have to keep walking one person at a time. Come here, let me walk you by your hand and let me take you to every little step because I know you can't do it. Well, I'm getting sick and tired of having to repeat myself on these subjects. Learn something on your own, people. And the people who have had, and I'm so sorry that the people who have had to listen to me go off about this again. And this was all sparked by a schmeckle, big old schmeckle on, trolling me on my own Facebook page. Trolling me. I put up that video about paranormal phenomenons and UFOs, and here's this guy coming about aliens are terraforming the planet. I said, no, aliens aren't doing it. It's our own government's doing it. And all of a sudden, now we're getting into climate change, everything. See, he wanted to get into it. And here, this is a guy, see, he has an agenda. At first, I thought he was just, brainwashed. But he owns a green energy research company. He's got an agenda. He needs people to believe in climate change. Because if they believe in it, they're going to buy his product. At a profit, of course. And he's on my page, and you should see it. I'm just leaving it up there for everybody to go look. Go on my John Lebang Facebook page. Look on the video that says Paranormal and Aliens. Has nothing to do with weather, and here we go. That's what trolls do, by the way. And this schmeckle just keeps, and he doesn't stop. I'm presenting all the evidence I gave to you tonight, and he doesn't stop. JFK said they were weather modification, or they were going to be weather modifying. That was a goal of the United States. I've got a patent approved behind it. Sounds like a weapon too, doesn't it? Wasn't there a weather weapon treaty also signed? See, these countries know they can use the weather. They know they can modify the weather. Remember when the whole left was like, what was it, the hurricane that slammed into New Orleans? And they were all like, George Bush did it. Back then they believed that there was weather modification. Now the lefties don't believe that because their boy was in charge. And they're all freaking out about the new guy. Anyways, folks, if I've left anything out, please chime in. Let's straighten these people out. Share this video. I know it's very sarcastic and it's not very, professional, I guess. I am just sick of repeating this. And this guy could have went to my site. I directed him there. He gave me an LOL. That's what set me off. See, people like this, the schmeckle trolls, that just, are pushing an agenda, and because he owns a green energy company, I'm not even going to give you the name. You can go find out if you want. Just scroll around my page here on Facebook. You can find it. It's in the description box below. This guy has an agenda, and he can't have the fact that global warming is a big freaking hoax. At least man-made global warming. Anyways, if I left anything out, guys, please chime in. I appreciate it. Put your 2 cents in to back me up on anything. And you people who don't believe the stuff that I just put out to you, if you don't believe it, that's fine. I mean, I can't. I'll leave a bunch of links in the description box, and hopefully you read. I know it's hard for some of you, and your attention span probably can't go that long. But, there's about a year's worth of reading out there. Really. A good year's worth of reading if you really want to study it. So.
We shall propose further cooperative efforts between all the nations in weather prediction and eventually in weather control. We shall propose, finally, a global systems of communication satellites linking the whole world in telegraph and telephone and radio and television. The day need not be far away when such a system will televise the proceedings of this body to every corner of the world.
Don't touch that dial. The John Lebang Show will be right back.
You can bet on it, man.
Hello. Are you a single lady who really wants to remain independent, but still wants the security of having a man do all the hard and nasty things you need? Then call Hubby for Hire. We're in the business of servicing you, and there's nothing we won't do. If it's just something simple as taking care of your kitty cat, or something a bit more difficult like cleaning the cobwebs that have been building up for years, it doesn't matter. Our trained professionals have the right tools for the job. Just look us up on Facebook. That's Hubby for Hire. We can fix anything. Guaranteed.
Hey, man, not a lot of people know, but after smoking a bong all day, man, I have a hard time getting an erection. Sometimes it's so limp, man, so I thought to myself, I might have that erectile dysfunction thing, man. So I called the Pen 15 Club, man. They provided me with hours of stimulation, man, with their professional massage techniques, man, and their oral support is way better than any Thai stick, man. The Pen 15 Club did the right thing for me, man. So if you're tired of having your buds killed, man, and want some help, call the Pen 15 Club, man. They can help you.
If you want to contact the John Lebang Show, feel free to send an email to jlebang@live.com. And if you're on Twitter, look him up at John Lebang. And don't forget to go to his Facebook page at The John Lebang Show. Now here's John.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. And as you notice, we went to break a little early last segment because we wanted to give ourselves a little extra time because we're now switching gears a little bit. Actually, a lot. Although it does kind of fall into the same group of people, whether people want to admit it or not. And ladies, you women out there who are not part of this movement, please do not take this as a criticism of you. There are good women out there. It's hard to find them, but there are good women out there. This is directed actually to men and young men, and I want them to take notice. See those women in Washington, D.C. and other areas around the country, primarily near colleges, major colleges, and how they're acting like spoiled little fools? You don't want those type of women in your life. Not at all. They're called feminists. They pretend to be women, but what they truly are sexist in disguise. And a lot of them will never grow up. And it is impossible to please them over the long haul. because they are unable to be satisfied. They live in a country that already caters to their needs and completely bends over backwards for them. And in some of the most extreme cases, they're allowed to be baby-producing good-for-nothings. But yet they are still unhappy. They lead corporations, they hold political office, they have lead roles in entertainment, they are replacing traditional male characters in comic books and movies, they're being promoted around men with greater talent in the industry. Women are also becoming millionaires. So what is the problem? Their problem is they don't appreciate how great they have it, and they will always want more. These miserable feminists produced little to nothing. They expect that their every want, desire, and need is provided for them. They are the types that don't need men, but want the men to provide a safety net structure to protect them. And if we don't do it willingly, they use the government. There are women in China, the Middle East, and in Africa that have it much worse than these feral hounds led by tramps like Madonna, a woman who has prospered as a prostitute singer and has made millions upon millions of dollars. And she has done it as a record industry hooker. And she is upset because women don't have it good enough here in the United States? Are you kidding me? All these women should follow Madonna's lead if they are so unhappy and treated so poorly here in the United States. Go out and be a complete slut, and one day you too will be a famous rock star like Madonna. If these little girls really cared about women's rights, have them fly over to China to protest. Have them go over to the Middle East, like where ISIS is hanging out, and have them protest there and see what happens to them. This is manufactured nonsense because they live in a country that they can do these sort of things and get away with it, and they should be thankful for being able to be in a country that allows them to be crybabies and go out there and complain and moan and act a fool and not even act like a woman. Have you seen the pictures? Guys, you don't want these kind of women. These women have rode the carousel, we'll say, the baloney carousel. What else can we give women in this country before it completely takes away from the man? We worry about women's rights, but we disregard men's rights. Because for women's rights to exist the way the feminists want it, it means we have to grant whatever a woman needs, the government has to provide it or force a man to provide it. And these people are upset because they live in a country that grants them so much. They have so much more here than any place or most any other place in the world. And yet they're still unhappy. And these protests, if you're watching them, they're truly not protests about women's rights anyways. They're just an extension of the Donald Trump protests. They're just using the disguise of women's rights. Donald Trump, who has done nothing to any of these women. If you ask him, what has Donald Trump done to you personally, they wouldn't have an answer to that. He's a misogynist. He's a this. He's a patriarchy. Blah, blah, blah. Whatever. Donald Trump has created jobs before he got to be president. I'm talking in his personal business, his company. What have most of you done? Donna's produced a book that looks like a porn show. See, Madonna's a porn star that got to be a rock star, or a rock star that got to be a porn star, whichever way you wanted it. And she's held up as an idol to these women. Guys, look at that. Do you really want women to idolize Madonna and want to be like Madonna? The woman that offers to give out BJs to whoever voted for Hillary. So I wonder how many BJs and how many different guys have stuck their, in her mouth. She's that willing to do it with anybody. And she's an idol to these women. These women are going to idolize Madonna. Like I said, if you're feeling treated unfairly, ladies, if it's so bad here in America, you have Madonna as a perfect example of what you need to do to get ahead. And since you idolize her, just go do it. Be a complete slut like Madonna. This whole thing that it's for women's rights is a hoax. It's an extension of the Trump protests. They're using a different umbrella today than they used the other day. And they're going to continually bounce the umbrella around so it makes it look like there's a whole bunch of different groups protesting. We already know that they were paying people to cause trouble at the inauguration. $2,500. Go look it up. It's on Google. It's not that hard to find. You don't believe me? George Soros is always involved in these things. The Black Lives Matter. Anything to do with protest against Trump. So when you go back into it, you see, this was well organized, ladies and gentlemen. This was not some spontaneous thing. There's a lot of money dumped into this. Crooked Hillary there. She's partially behind this too. After Donald Trump was so gracious to her, she had to go walk out over to the protest and complain some more. Like I said in the first hour, ladies and gentlemen, you are going to see clearly who and what these people are. And it's not going to get any better, because if they don't get their way, and this women's feminist march protest is a perfect example. If they don't get their way, if they don't get everything they want, they throw hissy fits and tantrums, cause trouble, break things. They'd like a violent revolution, ladies and gentlemen. They don't care about people. They act like they believe in women's rights. Did you see the kids there? The kids there, 10, 11, 12, little younger, all holding signs like F Trump and all this. I mean, that's great parenting. Guys, again, this is something for you to learn about feminists, okay? If you see them teaching their kids that sort of thing at such a young age, whether you like Trump or not, and we're getting into generations of this now. We're 3 generations in. Some people are so far gone, you're not going to be able to bring them back into normality. I still like to know what more these feminists want from this country. How much more do you want the country to give to you? This country has gone well beyond the measure of decency, because now you're trampling on rights of men. But that's not good enough for feminists, because they truly hate men. That's what it is. They don't like men. They may like to use them for sex or whatever, but most feminists don't have long-term marriages. They bounce around. They ride the carousel, we'll say. I've had a good taste of feminists, I should say. There's a difference between feminine women and feminists. Feminists look to replace men, to eliminate men. They don't like us. They may use us for our parts, but in general, we're not as important as they are. Feminine women are a little different. And in fact, ladies, if you're listening, guys prefer a feminine woman. They really do. They don't want a hard woman. It's hard enough being a guy, and then to come home to a hard woman. The woman is supposed to be there to be the tender side of the companionship. There's a team there. I mean, opposites attract on purpose. I mean, that's how nature truly wanted it. That's how it developed the way we extend our species is through the coupling of a male and a female. We have a lot of problems in this country, folks, and we're headed towards more of what we're seeing now, and it's going to get worse and worse and worse, because not only would they like to delegitimize Donald Trump, this is now a cultural struggle between a divided country that, let me make this clear, we are going to start hearing about we are the most divided we've ever been since the Civil War. You're going to hear more and more of that. And that's because the media is pushing this. And that's because groups like we're seeing in D.C. right now. You didn't see the Tea Party activists going around breaking windows, now did we? We didn't see that. There weren't that many arrests when it came to the Tea Party. People realized that the Tea Party wasn't working. So they finally went to go and vote. And that's how we got Donald Trump. And again, that's the fault of the Democrats and the left wing. The reason Donald Trump is president is because it's your fault. The left wing and the socialists, the feminists, a lot of groups that would be on the left of the political spectrum took everything they could from this country and drove it right into the lake. And the people who bought the car, who bought the country, who paid for it, got tired of loaning that car out and it coming back damaged all the time. And this time you almost totaled it. And we've had enough. So, a lot of people voted for Donald Trump. Not even because they like the guy. I mean, a lot of people do. But because he at least looked like he was going to represent the hardworking American. Not the American, not the person who wants everything from the country, but the person who wants to be left alone by his country. Leave us alone. And because feminists and groups like the feminists that are out there protesting and marching around, and other groups of the same type of ilk, and a lot to do with the Democrat Party, they don't want to leave the taxpayer alone. They keep draining and sucking and taking from the people who worked hard. Because it's never enough. It's never going to be enough. You can't please them. It's impossible to please them. So the American people said, fine, we figured out we can't please you anymore. You are unable to be pleased. So what we're going to do, we're going to cut you off. You're done. You're not driving the car anymore. We're taking the car back. We're going to put repairs on it. And hopefully we can afford the frickin' repairs. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen, for yet another hour of The John Lebang Show.
The fastest 60 minutes on radio.
Except we are now 120 minutes a week, and we're actually going beyond that if you're following us on our website, which you can go to our website at www.jlebang.com. I'd like to thank all our affiliate stations and thank you for listening. And until the vibrations of my vocal cords reach your ears again, I'm John Lebang, signing off from the Banger Studios.
1. We have liftoff. Tune in again next week. Same time, same space, same station.
Resistance